Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 11/23/25. This is going to be, well, I'll just go from this point. I now open this circle to true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna.
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We pray for ourselves, our friends, our family, our loved ones to let healing energies in. Let them love us, let them nourish us, and let them bring us to our highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that and great blessings that we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so be it. This is a continuation of a previous conversation that you saw on the Jinn Curses episode. That was when we were in the Outer Banks. Also, this also has to do with the time frame of when the GIC Christ episode was recorded. And the vampire episode and that whole mess that we spoke about on that previous episode. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Just go look at that. This has to do with current events, and I may put fragmentaries of the conversation I had with Ryan to fill in some of the conversation gaps here. But we see over the past week, especially, and you heard also what went on when we encountered Bennett and we encountered he was in the Walmart. All of that was integrated in both conspiracy sector and the lifting. You've heard this repeated a few times, and I'd had enough about the Isaac situation and overall situation, and I wanted proof of life. This is a more of a continuation of that conversation right now. And in the past week alone, I mean, this happened before, since we filmed the Christ episode, and before that, that was on the 16th of December or November, excuse me. What ended up happening in that interim since the Outer Banks episode? What Elena said at that time was absolutely true. And as of this moment in time, this has changed dramatically since then. And for the longest time, they were understating some of the things that had occurred. I was seeing bits and pieces. My intuition was telling me it was far worse than than they were telling me. I had to go off intuition. So I am just going to update people on what took place in this time. Uh, uh, I found this out as of today. Isaac has actually passed away. So, knew I'd do that. Okay,
This is very emotional for us.
there we go. I had to do this to resuppress that to be able to talk. So, this is what happened. I was talking to Ryan about an hour before this. And we found this out. This is when the episode you saw prior to this was about that Greek mythological group, the Percy Jackson type group that was talking. And I felt like I could trust Gerald and them. They were hinting at me, giving me uploads surrounding this as well. And anytime I would question Elaine and Vesta, or even Bennett when he was around, they would go into this somber silence. Sad. So, yes, Bennett, I can actually see you there. So give me a moment. So,
But last night, with all of this happening, I'll just give you a second.
mhm.
Last night, with everything that's been happening, and Chris was trying desperately to, again, at least feel Isaac's
Mhm.
signet and everything. and other people as well who had contact with Isaac. Maybe we're still, but where was it coming from?
Mhm.
This, that,
Felt
and the
like it was
other.
everywhere and nowhere.
And
It was like, yeah.
one of the things that happened last night when we were someplace and Chris wanted to kind of bring this up to talk about because he wanted to ask me how did I feel about it. And I didn't answer him until he literally asked me, how do you feel about it? Because as I told him at the time, I don't think you actually want to know how I actually feel about it, which was an overwhelming sadness and mourning. And, um, for some people, when an event occurs in their life and a loss occurs, the feeling that you could drop to your knees and wail about it. The other thing I was picking up on had to do with, again, not so personal, but a shock wave, let's just call it, that had penetrated and encompassed a lot of groups because a realization had occurred with this event. Almost as if you could say a line that you thought wouldn't ever be crossed was crossed. And the shock wave, again, when you have a fundamental belief system, let's just say, of reality, of what you think right and wrong, of how you think people behave or whatever, and then you now have to reevaluate everything because your fundamental belief system has just been cracked. I felt this not about one particular group, but for multiple groups, be it the Lanulosians, be it the forest people, be it others who thought that maybe, as so as above, ways of conducting yourselves, ways or whatever, certain agreements, certain whatever, that there was a place of, let's just say, respect or whatever, that lines weren't crossed, and lines were really, really, really crossed. And basically having to relook at everything and taking a moment and backing up in mourning, but mourning not just his personal loss, but the loss of something else as well. And it was so profound. And Chris finally asked me, and I finally told him, the details of what I was picking up on. And again, being personally at a loss too, because I think, and as we've spoken about since then, that Benna coming in like he did to see us was, in his goofy way, to basically let us have something to reflect on that really did happen to us, really was real, in order for us to be able to cope at this moment with something that they knew would profoundly affect us.
Also, there is an overall concept here that I want to bring up, that those of you in the community, and this is not bashing, but you have to be careful of whom do you serve, whom do you bring through. You cannot just assume there's light beings and all this other shit. You must understand who you are linking to. And this is something that I personally, from my own personal space, avidly enforce. And wherever I happen to be standing at the time and whatever I happen to be doing. These beings in these other places are not immortal. I suppose from a demigod perspective, like an Odin or a Thor, they have an ability, a natural ability to reconstitute. They die and come back. It's like a weird resurrection thing. I know that's ironic given the Jesus topic of the other episode, but this is creating planets in 7 days and the whole bit. But I get it. That just happens to be their natural biology. You're dealing with other beings that are like us, that aren't in that tier, but they are in a different frequency. They can still be hurt and killed. If you are aligning to such beings, you are creating an anchor by which these guys can get to these guys. So, if it appears that I'm pissed, I am. But Benna, you can come forward. You can just do that yourself. But no insult intended. But this incident, or I shouldn't say incident, this meeting him started to course correct some of this, of what I was picking up on, and now as of today, I get it. There's other personal stuff I will never add to this conversation, nor am I going to wantonly give credit, again, like I said in the previous episode, to the assailant. Because they want to be named, so therefore they will be Akhenaten and remain nameless. But to people that are aligning with something that you thought was genuine, I would take a second look at that. If you are intentionally aligned with those dark beings, you can go F yourself. If you are inadvertently doing it, thinking that you were doing it for some genuinely good higher frequency purpose, you get a mulligan, but you have to look into this. So you must absolutely understand whom it is you serve. There is service to self, service to others, but everyone has an agenda. If they say otherwise, they are lying. That's whether it is good that it aligns with if it's a benevolent, true benevolence and no conflicting agendas. If it does not align with what you're doing, don't do it. But at the same time, they can be benevolent. Also, the word agenda is always associated with bad. Everyone has an agenda. Every single person being everywhere has something they wish to get accomplished. Good, bad, ugly, and all in between. You must recognize if that aligns. This over here, this alignment, and I know I'm pointing right, left, and that's not, I'm just comparing things. Before you think I'm pointing at somebody in particular. You must vet what is around you, tighter circle, deeper roots, is the phrase Odin gave us. And some people may argue that, oh, you've aligned with a demigod, or I don't worship, I don't do anything like that. We converse as equals. Even if some other beings don't always see it that way. As like maybe children parent. I don't view it that way. But please understand, if you're at any events we're at, if you're at anything like that, we hold, even especially now, a strict policy of if you are aligned in any way, shape, or form to any of these negative demigods, we must block you unequivocally to keep this safe over here and ourselves. I don't care if you think you're guilty of this. I don't care if you think you're like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Oh my God, oh my God. I can hold no quarter to this. So this is a no mercy, no quarter. I have to cut you off. There is absolutely no question in that now. Because there's also a story, and I'll tell you a story before I let Bennett through. And I've repeated this numerous times. If you are the originator of this story, please text us. Please put the comments below. I don't know what source to cite this. So it is about a Taigetan group that was channeled by a lady that suddenly the ship was attacked and some, I'll just, for lack of a better word, pirates attack this ship. Whoever took it over when I am the captain now became the channel source and wanted their own agenda, and those beings were dead at that point. And that screwed up what not only the channeler was trying to accomplish here, but what those beings were trying to get fixed here. But from spirit, I suppose that was their mission all along, to anchor something here. First, I thought it was mis and disinformation. I really thought it was horseshit for a little bit. It was not. These things actually happen. People have this misguided conception that these beings are in some light being frequency, and they can't be harmed. That is spirit, folks. That is spirit. That is what you would call the afterlife. That is not the galactic camp. That is not the elemental camp. That is not the dimensional camp. Those are flesh and blood beings that can get hurt, killed, or worse, or turned into something else, like with anything else. This is a difference. Yes, and they're also, if you're in a higher frequency, you can't be corrupted. Wrong. A being like a Draco can go in a suit, some technology, sit in a frequency by which they can echo their feces all over Midgard. It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. It's like the whole Sheridan and Kosh and the countersuit thing from Babylon 5 you heard me talk about in the past, where Kosh was in this suit, and underneath he was an energy being, and everybody saw him in this weird frequency, and they saw their demigod because the frequency. And too many people looked at him, and he said he got entangled. That kind of thing, that can't happen. Where he saved Sheridan's life from falling, that whole bit in the show. That can happen. But it doesn't mean that somebody else can't put one of those suits on and go here and mess with you. It doesn't mean that a V2Ker can't be screwing with you. Guys, you must look into this if it's government agency, please. I see V2K operators all over the damn place. And they're in certain areas, and they might even be parked near where you are, where you're trying to form a little sanctuary. You must vet these things. You cannot just say, do the whole thy will be done. You cannot do the whole thing like, oh, they can't lie, they can't be wrong. No. You must vet this completely, or shit like this happens. And good people pay for your stupidity. And I cannot be kind about this anymore.
Well, I think there's one thing to consider as well, is that, one of the things that you guys see what we do as far as setting the intention for our conversations and what we want to happen.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I don't think we'll be attending conferences where we won't be able to set the standard for the energies there.
Yes, we must, and this isn't ego talking. We must set the standard because we happen to have the education in this area.
Or someone else that does it with the same thing. But again, I think when you're dealing with a bunch of people coming at all kinds of different places with
somebody else can do it with
all kinds of skills or whatever, you have to create the neutral space to be able to not let the negative dominate. I am sorry to say that negative came through to dominate anyway. However, and it sent ripples and waves. Because
it was invited in. That's an important aspect, like the vampire myths. It was invited in.
So if you have these skills, what we're really trying to say is don't unknowingly be a Trojan horse.
Yeah, or a doormat. Yeah.
Or what I would say is that what is wrong with yourself declaring who you are is only wanting benevolence for your and humanity's highest good. What is wrong with declaring that I do not want to be utilized by something that is not benevolent or for humanity's highest good?
There's nothing wrong with that.
If you think for 1 second, first of all, there's no tricks in those words. But if you think it's silly, and if you think, I don't need to, you need to ask yourself, what is wrong with tying a bow with those intentions?
Yeah, why? What is wrong with it?
Realize that you yourselves are being tricked to have those thoughts.
And please run personal audits. Basically, this is how it goes for person and property. I ask a true benevolent source creator, true benevolent earth mother, and the true benevolent versus please audit and code audit my personage and my property and my energy as of this moment in time, where codes and are audited and deleted where appropriate. Mere cross time stays where appropriate, is forever so, in all moments, all sessions and expressions. That's the medium version.
But
This will, let me get this point. There is a visible difference. There's a visible difference. We saw this when we were doing a fair one time. I'm not going to even name the fairs or name anything. And it's not anything recent. This was a while ago. Where we noticed when we opened that circle for the business day and for the vendors and for all the readers and everything that day, when we opened it, the Law of One, great event. Next one, there was a guy, and I'm sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus, but I got to do this. But it's not a name. He went around, and the only thing this person did, I'm trying not to throw expletives in there, but you get what I'm saying. You get what my eyes are actually saying. He turned around and goes, now turn to each other and tell each other you love them. I wanted to go, at the time, but I realized the difference. Not one bit of foundation had been set to categorize the rest of the energetic day and what that day was about. The foundation is important. That's why we do the Law of One and the True Benevolence and No Conflicting Agendas. At the beginning of the show, you can combine those two. I would highly recommend combining those two into one thing. Don't disrupt the wording of the Law of One, though. Integrate the other one in there if you have to, and I feel that works. When that person did that, the whole declaration of love does absolutely bupkis. You have to have the Law of One in there to mirror that back out. Anything out that would attack and then get bumped back. All that did was absolutely bupkis because the word love has been misinterpreted.
right,
You could love hurting someone or you can love helping someone.
right,
It's the LOVE conversation that we did before.
right.
That did bupkis, like the word God. People include God like that's a declaration.
So
You're calling on, hang on a second, you're calling on anything that was ever used with the word God or gods. It's not doing anything. That's what we say, true benevolent source creator. That pinpoints the energy. It's love and God don't do anything. It's bupkis.
So let me just really quick, and I'm gonna do this really quick.
Mm-hmm.
The definition of what is love is not, as we said, is not exactly seen as how we define it here. So in general, if you think of what LOVE is, again, we've done this before, is if you take infinite intelligence, again, that source of all things, that soup that we're all in, that intelligence, that being, and with your energies, you co-create.
Mm-hmm.
That is what LOVE is.
Mm-hmm.
So for us in our interpretation, we may love a person, a tree, a cat. You're interacting energetically with a, infinite intelligence, and your energies are acting on that. That is what LOVE means. And so again, we're saying other beings may LOVE something else. So all you've done really with a statement like that is allow anything in.
Yeah.
You're
Anything,
allowing
everything,
it
all at once, basically.
You're allowing it all.
Yeah.
Because that, again, you may think that everyone has the same interpretation
They
as
don't.
what LOVE is, but it's not interpreted that way. So that's why we are like, you have to get down and dirty with the specifics of what you
Yes.
really mean.
You have to define exactly what you mean. And I know we were meant to see that stark difference when we saw that. That was actually meant so that we understood and could comprehend the whole concept. We were supposed to see that. From the Law of One to the other guy just thinking he was doing something. And somebody told us years ago, and I'm going to be direct when I say this, some people think they're a 10 when they're a 1. And that is exactly correct. And again, if this sounds like ego, I can't help how you're thinking, how you're hearing this right now. This has come from experience. This has come from experiencing these things and having the knowledge accumulate over a period of time. This is not ego. This is not thinking that I'm superior to anybody listening. We just have more of a knowledge database in this area.
But again, just to go back and reiterate one more time,
Mm-hmm.
if you cannot put out the intention of your own, that you do not want to be used as a Trojan horse,
Yeah.
that you're seeking knowledge for as it is, and you want benevolence with your for your highest good, and others' highest good to co-create and have conversation or whatever. If you cannot do that,
Mhm.
you must ask yourself why.
Why? Yeah.
Why
If
can't
you can't do a self-audit, you
Because
can't
there's-
reflect, you can't
there's
revet,
no tricks in
there's
these
no-
words.
why
So
can't you?
if you can't,
You're being
then-
influenced, not.
Right, which is what we're trying to
Yeah.
say, or you are a willing participant, which there are plenty of willing participants who have the ability, which many people think, again, a human who has that type of intention can't even channel. That is not true. That's a wrong statement as well.
Yep,
So,
these misconceptions, these concepts, that the New Age community has spewed out there,
well,
and
they're again to control your mind into not thinking other things are possible
the
that are.
the CIA set up 3/4 of these anyways back in the mid late 90s.
So anyway, we will, this is, we hope some of you that are listening to this really can take it to heart. And if you are doing things for benevolent reasons, we hope you will, in your own way, fundamentally demand a certain level of communication for yourself and others.
Communication hygiene, like we said in the previous episode. Communication hygiene is a certain level of excellence for yourself and cleanliness for your area. Like I should speak, this room's filthy, but I'm saying energy-wise, I'm constantly sweeping that. Also, keeping the dirt out of it helps as well. I noticed this in Japan when they kept things very fastidiously clean. The energy's grounded and stayed that way too. The point is, for your own space, for your own sake, if you're going public and channeling and doing things like what we do, this is the main reason why you do not see me doing many public channelings. I'm not opposed to it anymore. But just know I am very strict now of who, what, where, when, why, and how. And now, since of this incident, I'm even more so. So just know in sessions too, I want to say in the future, please do not try to aim me and my energy at multiple targets, because this will ensure that we don't get any sort of blowback like that. If you're in need of help in and assistance in the session, I'm more than happy to have you do a session. Those are paid sessions, by the way. I can't do freebies, but there's hazard pay here, as you can see. And I have to be more anal retentive about that too, because that represents a bit of a barrier as well, or a filtration as well, even though that's monetary. So some people have heckled me in recent days for that, and I have to rebut. So I know, Benna, you have been incredibly patient. Yeah. So all right, give me a moment here. Yeah. All right. And yeah, I recognize when I saw Benna at the Walmart that time, when I saw his eyes were similar to Isaac's, where he had a bit of turquoise, like her color shirt, a little bit, but mixed with green and a bit of blue in there, kind of a flipping marbleization. Isaac had turquoise eyes, so you could tell he comes from relatively the same place. There's similar traits there. All right, I get myself situated here. All right, Benno. Hmm? Yes, forest people, I acknowledge you. Heard a tap on the wall. That's not just wind doing that. I heard a hand. They were thoroughly spooked by this too. Very much so. And I would have probably been too on their part or in their place. So, Benno. excuse the telepathic lag. When you get into it, the wave of emotion, the telepathic link tends to be more shaky. But in this conversation of whom do you serve and what happened to Isaac, yes, he is actually correct in this. Odin was originally the one that wanted to channel in this conversation. We declined to, meaning Glodian and Lanyalosian. Cooler heads had to prevail in this, because he is justifiable in his motions and actions as well, but the emotions would have put an undue burden on your energies at the moment in time. So he just gave me a few sticky notes. What to say? Well, I mean, the GF side and the Asgardian side don't always agree on tactics, but that's starting to change. So in this particular topic, we knew that something relatively was going to go down. And with the different demigods responsible, just know that at least a couple other parties have been subdued in this incident. This was not just one being that did this. They would like you to think they were. But just know that the Mosen, or whom you call the Mosen, they gave you that name just as a place where they're staying on Earth, I believe, in Switzerland. But it doesn't matter if people know or not. Don't matter at this point. Just like Valiant Thor said, he was in Lake Mead. Don't matter at this point because he's not there anymore. And there's multiple of them. He has a bit of a personality disorder, let's just say, in his family genes. Kidding, but bring jokes into this. But in all seriousness, this situation sparked an information stream and a debate like you wouldn't believe. This sparked conversations between groups that had been stagnant. So when they saw this take place, they felt they were unsafe. And they got paranoid. And sides began to talk that didn't normally talk to one another. And your request to have Isaac healed through Asgardian means because of legislation and contracts and treaties and a bunch of horse crap, that is actually starting to mend. So with this, I will say that beings, just because they're out in space and you have been taught that somehow they're higher being, there is no such thing as a higher being or a lower being. You have the lower gods and the higher gods. That's horse crap, as he would say, horse shit, because of the fact that came from your other Law of One material. That's the Anhumble Ra material. That came from the lower gods. There's no such thing as a lower god. That was propagandic crap. Yes, there are beings that are in faster moving frequencies that they can affect change in their area, their spirit, and then there's you on Midgard that are the aspects of different beings from your oversoul to even some of those godly-ish figures to you. Of course, he compares it to an electrical plant, electrical substation, and house. Of course, that's a great analogy. Even though it's not quite completely like that, or your Oversoul Palace library, of course. And these beings are aspects within that library. They're just much older, so they appear like they are the totality of the library because they're so old. He compared this with his friend Ryan to a Doctor Who episode where he was in a simulation and he saw more of his information than he saw Amy and Rory's, and they wondered why. He said, because I'm so much older and so I have a lot more life experience. That's what that is. Nothing more than that. But all of these groups, no matter the frequency, timeline, any of it, They've begun to talk after sometimes hundreds of years of just pointing at each other. Sometimes there's only been a few decades where people have been disgusted. But with this, there has also been a change in how certain contracts are playing out, a shift in how the Senate is dealing with this. They don't do anything fast. Trust me, they're like your government agencies. Excuse one moment. And I'll get on track a little bit more here. Motions fly high, and I must also reground, as do the others, the ladies too. So, with this, the scenes he was seeing in his head, he thought the mouth was trying to shove this in his brain over the past week, showing a coffin, showing Isaac's name on it, all of this. It was really just rejoicing and showing this. He thought it was making it up, which I can understand this. It was cheering. Well, this is going to be short-lived, you see. Excuse. Give me a moment. It is short. That'll be short-lived because it is stupid. Because of the fact that this is actually helping open doors up that weren't normally opened up, and getting people to talk that normally would not have done so. So you have questions?
So I guess because it felt so much like everyone's foundational belief systems had been shaken a bit.
Yes, this is what you were picking up on. Also, he thought the Velodian facility was seeing this alcove with this chamber, this healing chamber sitting in it was the healing chamber. It's like one of your mausoleums. We have these things where then the body, if there's a disease or something there, is slowly atomized. It's like your cremation process. So it can purge disease, but it also can do that as well. But sometimes it has to do it slowly. But the foundational belief systems were this. Any culture that got whiff of this within Galactic Federation territory and saw, that they had been, how can I put it, passive or passe or didn't care about the situation, started to care deeply either for their own world or their own planet's safety, dimensional world space safety, all this, or the fact that they were saddened by it, but felt sorry for it and want the Senate to do something about it.
Because really it was, for those people that maybe didn't see
that Earth has become a problem because of its non-inclusiveness in the Galactic Federation.
Well, that and the attack on Isaac was for him to basically go back and infect people also within his society.
That was taken very seriously. Yes.
And I'm asking, it didn't happen.
No.
He was isolated in time, and
they found it quickly enough. His brother saw it quickly enough. He did lose his mind a little bit because that's the virus that was doing that. No fault is being handed to him. It was all understood. Some assaults took place and stuff like that, but it was understood. Under normal circumstances, if it had been a choice, that wouldn't have been tolerated. I'm just saying, this was understood, and so it was caught in time, and they felt that he was going to recover, but I do have to say, his oversoul knew what he was doing.
Well, you know why I think that's true? Because in the profession that I'm in, where people are passing, that, remarkable things can happen at the very end where you feel like a bigger part of that person's soul comes back in for a last moment, a last saying, something that that regular people watching a person die would say, how could they have, they had lost their mind? How can they come back and say this? How could they do what they just do at the very end? And I think, for me, uh, although everyone says it was a safe word, I just feel like it was just a higher piece of Isaac bursting through to basically tell Chris that he was done and goodbye.
And goodbye, yes.
And it really was more simple as that than it was anything else, that it really was a final, let's just say, communication.
Yes, there's really no such thing as a finality in that area. It's the receptivity to spirit. That's what's being blocked at the moment, is the receptivity to spirit. Now, he felt Isaac earlier, but it was of the oversoul.
Right.
And it was more in a feeling type of thing. That's usually how spirit operates. That's why you need mediums here to facilitate that communication and translation between one operating system and the other. That must always be to facilitate dimensions. Why do you think these demigods need the same facilitation? It's because of the dimensional barriers that exist between them and the frequency barriers that exist between them. They need the go-betweens. This isn't like that they want it. This isn't like it's a luxury. Of course, they want worshipers, because some of them want worshipers because they're the egocentric fucks. But I'm just saying, they need the go-between to operate here. They need an agent on their behalf to do so. And Galactics, with the contracts in place, initiated some of the same policies, because it wasn't a treaty violation. It fell within branch and bracket treaty. So they figured what was good for the goose is good for the gander. So this is how we are talking now, for part of the same loophole.
Well, and again, understanding that no one, no one actually technically dies, but obviously there's great mourning, even knowing that, of just mourning and missing someone that you interact with a lot. Again, for many people, if you've not had personal experiences to know for a fact that these people are real, and that they're flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
And
not energy, they are flesh and blood.
And as much as people want to believe that no one is putting their self on the line for a belief, that's just not true. People do a lot, and many do, unless we say wars are fought that humanity knows nothing about.
Yes.
This would be one of those instances as well. But I just say that because obviously, for those listening and for those that have on their own, Isaac has gone to a lot of people. Isaac has, communicated, made fun of, laughed with.
Mm-hmm.
So some of you may be hearing this for the first time, and I'm sure your soul will help you deal with this loss, because it truly is a great loss that everyone is feeling. So, but I do, I don't think Isaac, just like we're normally not aware of maybe the bigger consequences and
he
bigger
knew.
goals.
He was well aware of it. Why do you think over the years he took various bullets? He was attempting to kick some of these demigods in the nuts via their agents. He was attempting, he claims he was a meek, mild-mannered archivist in the archival division of the Galactic Federation. What the hell does that sound like? That sounds like Superman and his alter ego, Clark Kent. You see the story arc here? We're not the only ones that can actually spin tales. The Velodians have been accused of fueling some of the angelic story since time immemorial, but he decided to do the meek, mild-mannered archivist working down in the office. He even stole some of Valiant Thor's story in there and decided to pull a Mulder That's who Valiant Throw was also based off, is Mulder, Gary Seven, the whole bit. But Isaac decided to pull an Andor where he showed archivist looking through just data about the Empire and everything. So this has happened, even though he was assisting with that. Think Clark Kent being a journalist. This is kind of how he viewed himself anyway.
But his oversoul was the one that knew the bigger picture of what the
Yes.
effect would be.
Yes, as a human, tall white hybrid or a physical man, he was doing the type of thing, but the oversoul knew exactly what he was doing or what he was doing. The library. I assume that he will make contact when he's able. And you'll probably just see him as himself. But you'll have a greater understanding as to what his oversoul was about or is about. But this, I'd like to say activities like this stop. No, they change. Things change. This made it to where there was a greater security, not only for Lanulos. So some of the communications you get from there may be briefer, because they do not wish this to happen, and I don't believe any more of the oversouls from there are doing any of this. He was under the impression that when you were back there, your soul mission was done, and that for the 90% of it, that is still true. That's kind of almost a retirement thing. That's like Betazoid and Risa put together, like what Elena was saying. Yes, but remember, they're still physical beings, even in another planetary situation or dimensional situation. It matters not. Even they kept showing him in his head the whole Dominion attacking Betazed. That's what they were trying to tell him, was through the Star Trek synchronicities. And DS9 ones, the same thing with what I pulled. So this, yes, hardly anything happens over there. It's like 95%. I'll give them 95%. Because they're in not only an area of space where it's not really touched, dimensional space too, and the frequency as well, and temporal space and timeline space. But he was not there when it happened. He was here. This is the battleground area of Midgard, guarding the middle ground. Who do you think wants to guard the middle ground? Somebody that wants to control the gateways, control the portals, control the Bifrost? Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want control of something like that? It's an epicenter. So it became who was the big cheese. And in this case, the big cheese, not the little cheese. The little cheese is the ones that help capture the big cheese when they take the hits to capture the big cheese. The big cheese, or King of the Mountain, was who wanted, like what the Martian Germans were trying to do. That has been, for most of the part, broken up. Even though they still exist, it's much smaller. So you have these other factions. You know what I'm saying with that. But to sum up, he is right. A firm foundation at some of these events means all the difference. And I'm not saying you two always have to be the openers. There has to be a protocol put in place. There must be a protocol, or the warnings before the spells. Type of situation, or like what you said, another Doctor Strange reference, the bill always comes due. This was the bill coming due. This was when the plan first started. I will just say the plan. Something was always going to have the bill come due. This was always understood, but it was never reviewed. The bill has come due. And it has now changed the dynamic forever as to how some communications are even done. This is being felt globally. This is being felt galactically, multiple galaxies. But on Earth, it is being felt, and channelers. You must vet who you are actually speaking to, because of the fact that some of that dynamic has shifted and changed. What once was is not now, or what once was is slightly more constricted. It will not stay that way forever. It's just for the moment. So do not think that life is over in that respect, like what happened to the other channel that he was talking about. You have to diversify, but at the same time, just know that, of course, your soul, family, and spirit will always be there, and also your soul, family, planetary, Lonulus, all of them, yes, are always going to be talking to you. And whomever it is. It might not be as frequent, it might not be as long. But another reason I showed up when I did was to show that we were still around and that we were intervening or had intervened and or was showing that validation. So I do not want to get too deep into that, but do you have more questions for me?
Basically, I would think that it makes you ponder. I'm sure Chris is pondering because, for us, we take seriously not wanting to put people in harm's way
Mhm.
from channeling them or, accidentally. I know you guys always say, but the people that are coming from the other end to talk know exactly what they're getting into. But, being human, you never want to put beings or other people in harm's way from talking to you either.
Even Isaac didn't completely know in his physicality what this meant. The oversoul, of course, did. And sometimes, of course, you have the infected oversouls. You know that concept in the multiverse. This was not one of those situations. This was one of those, let's see if what happens. Well, this is what happened. But I'm just saying, the oversoul's hedge bet too.
Right.
So this actually, what he set out to do, worked. It worked.
Well, I think the one thing that has surprised us since the conference is the amount of those people that are in spirit coming through, be it people that are known for some reason, wanting to come through to either talk a little bit more about their story, but to make themselves available, I think, to channel through Chris from a place that they are now untouched. So their ability to communicate information that may be valuable to humanity, there seems to be their only concern is not wanting to put us technically in harm's
Yes,
way.
that's why his grandfather wouldn't divulge certain government information, even though it won't harm him, it would harm him.
But also from that place, from more of the spirit world, it seems that am I correct in saying this? It seems that they have the capacity to be able to channel and protect Chris and be able to push through whatever is there to try and block maybe another flesh and blood being. They're not blocked. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, yes. When people are saying spirit has been blocked, that is an incorrect assumption or assertion. It's the people's receptivity, the dummening, that is actually causing the receptivity to dwindle. As Bjorn said to him, the blood is being deoxygenated. Therefore, the oxygen in the brain is going down. Therefore, you don't have enough fuel. You're running on fumes to be able to receive what you need to receive. And that is what's going on. It's the chemical dummening and the psionic dummening that's taking place.
But for some reason,
the re-education.
Right, but for some reason, if it is a spirit-based entity, they can somehow push through and help even the channeler a little bit, maybe even help give them a little mojo or whatever.
Oh, yes.
Because it just seems to me the big change for us recently is heading more towards spirit realm persons
Yeah, more
that come
link
through.
more link to your oversoul versus that of just guides as well. There's a shift towards it. Not that you couldn't talk to any beings and you could fire beings at any time, what was said before.
Right.
And you also start to see more disclosure in the dummening area, like what he kept saying about that SpongeBob episode over and over again, about the dummening and the re-education,
Right.
where everybody became stupid and had to be re-educated.
Right.
You're going to see more of that. The galactic groups are wanting to teach children, and some other groups are wanting to teach children what was actually going on. So they'll do it through shows like your SpongeBob, Courage the Cowardly Dog, all those others. You'll start to see it even in your Sesame Street and stuff like that after a while, once some of the other premises have run their course. But some of your testers have gotten involved there, and it's gotten kind of weird. But with the PBS area. But at any rate, I won't go into that. But there will be more disclosure in that area as to the effects of the dummening, because once you have that knowledge, you'll be able to fight it enough to reconnect to spirit. This is exactly, I point upward, but it's actually all around you. You have spirit listening to you all the time, 24/7. They hear everything all the time, almost. Not always 100%, but of everything, but the energy hears and feels you. And then that translates to the different people you know in the, you say the afterlife, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So it's not 24/7, and they're even sending blessings here as I am speaking. Now, you probably feel this now from all of them. This is the smarter move in times where galactics cannot speak, like myself. It is the smarter move to choose spirit.
Right. It just seems to me that is an appropriate shift, a shift to be
And
able to do.
oversoul aspects, and some of these that you're thinking are in spirit, you're channeling yourself from the
Right.
oversoul library.
Right.
So,
It does
yeah.
seem to me that would be maybe kind of more appropriate right now to kind of go, as we say, go inward, upwards within yourself, as well as other, spirits that are around, as a way of looking at things and doing things. My curiosity is one last question, because I don't want to deviate from the subject matter, and again, can't reiterate enough, if you're channeling, please make your intentions strong as to what
Very.
you want to bring through.
Very.
But my question is with what you were just saying about the dummening effect and trying to get this information out of the strategy that's being utilized against people, because when you know it and you don't want it, it will begin to change and wash away. My question really is, when you look at all humanity, I mean, I guess they knew that a percentage of people would be slam dunk, easy to be able to manipulate. Some wouldn't be. But looking at everything that's been done since 2020 to try and really do just a huge crackdown, let's just say, on humanity and the dumbing and everything. When you look at humanity and you look at what their potential goals were for the dumbing, did it not take as much? Did it take as much? Did they know what they were doing? I mean, where does humanity stand in all this, and their being able to be receptive to their own selves and to spirit, and that connection not lost?
This will eventually take hold again. When the knowledge of what dumbened you is fully received, then you will start to see a changeover. It doesn't have to be everyone. It could be like less than a third of the population start to understand this, and it begins to change the constant of reality. And you're in a timeline by which then this is more open. You go into that space by, like you say, always becoming more receptive, keeping the knowledge going. What you're doing to promote views and all that is actually not unseen by us and not unfelt by us, but it is also not unfelt by your adversaries as well, and not unseen as well. Just know this. And also, as that change occurs, in whatever area you choose to put it in, it is now beginning to open that up. When you light this fire over here, it appears over here, and over here, and over here. It's already begun. But there has to be at least a good chunk of people that can be burning that fire to be able to completely reignite that receptivity past the dumbing. And what was said by Hajamal in other conversations, he gives his regards. This is why there was a delay in the sharing of that last episode with him, because of this. He was wondering why he hadn't shared it yet. This is why. like what he was saying about the quantum nature of the psionic dampeners, where you have to give them a binary identity. They're in a non-binary state. You have to give them an identity, meaning off. If people want to focus on that, cool. But what you need to focus more on to get that going is that overall realization that you're being screwed with to begin with and being dumbed down. You start to feel that, it starts to reverse, and then you can mess with the tech a little bit at that point. And enough people focus on that, it will come to an end, trust me.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, I just leave it to you for any final comments for this particular talk today.
Mm-hmm. No, I will say to people, do not fall for, how can I put this? Do not fall for the let's say the old adage or the old concept of thy will be done. Do not fall for this. That is now canceled as of this moment. Do not fall for beings that will not. I don't want to say give you a straight answer, because sometimes good beings will do this, but for the most part, good does not do this, or those without a negative agenda, that is, with a negative agenda. That is. But do not listen to your intuition. Always listen to this. If it feels wrong, no matter if there's good aspects woven into it, do not have it around you. If you feel there's good aspects that could be expanded upon, great. Do this. Focus on this. But as he said, if there is even an element that could tie back from this camp over to this camp, and you know it, sever it. Put blessings towards this that it improves. And then once it does, you can always reintegrate. But I'm not saying this just for things you attend or anything like that. I'm saying in anything. So I will leave this here because there's already a slight bit of blowback occurring. So apologies for that, but this is what needed to be said. So I thank you all. I will return, rest assured. The ladies will return, and the forest people definitely give their regards, and they will return when it is safer to do so. But they have also said in the past that if there is an inordinate amount of targeting, they would have to take their leave briefly. And so, nothing personal. So, I thank you. Oh, it is safe to share that episode now. Had them all put it on a delayed timer. So, mentally. So, all right. All right. So, well, the energy is as blue as his shirt now coming here, so that's actually legit. That's also the color of his outfit was this. Yeah. Yes, they're happy about that conversation. Just know we won't name the party. If we ever catch the human party, we won't. I will not display their name here, ever. So just know you'll know when something has been dealt with, because I'll just say it's been dealt with, and that's really where I will leave it. So this, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, just that obviously, we will always love and cherish the avatar that was with us, Isaac, and I'm sure we'll hear from him from the spirit world.
Yes.
We would just miss him dearly.
Yes, of course. And to anybody that was asking me questions about this is the resolution to all of those questions. Anybody that was texting me, and also I will say at the end, Susan told me in private, she had dreams about this recently. This is why. So that was a genuine spirit connection right there. Being receptive to it. So I will leave this here. I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now. Okay. There's one thing I do have to kind of do a preemptive strike on, regarding the Isaac episode here. And I know a lot of you won't do this, but there's some of you that will at least try to ask, and I'm asking that you not even ask. He's in spirit, or transitioning within thereof to where that can be communicated, he can be communicated with, but not the same way as before. And you're probably saying, Chris, but don't you communicate with spirit? Yes, but there's disruptions here that cut some of the receptivity to that, so it's a lot harder, believe it or not. But the one thing I am asking is, I know this is mainly the New Age type people that will more than likely do this. It's none of the crowd that knows better in certain things, but I'm talking about the more flighty. I can't just rewind the timeline and bring it back to life. It doesn't work that way. Could you do that with your neighbor? No. So before I even get the requests, and I know I would get them, well, can't you do this, and can't you just do the loved one and bring him back? Don't work that way. Has it worked that way for a parent that's passed on? Has it worked that way for a friend, brother, sister? No. Mother, father? No. So I'm asking that I don't get those comments. And somebody's objecting, going, but if you just do this, if you just manifest this, you can bring him back and he'll be healthy. And no. Can you do that for somebody that you love that died? I don't think you can. And I'm thinking people will think that this situation is somehow different. Nope. Galactics are the same as us, guys. They might have different frequency pockets and things of that nature, and sometimes different requirements, but the physics are still the same. You passed on. They'd be the first to tell you that they don't want to be seen as different or worshipped or feared. Just like when you see a UFO, don't be enthralled and don't be fearful of it. You have to be in a neutral state at the very least. I know people with religious beliefs will be like, oh my God, it's Jesus, or oh my God, it's the devil, stuff like that. These beings are no different. When one of them passes on, it's no different than one of us. They're not light beings, they're not anything like that. Seems one of the only differences is with the Asgardians, where they kind of regurgitate into a different part of Midgard if they died there, or if something happened. Their physics is they have a molecular cellular solid ability like we do. When you regenerate limbs, when something happens, they're like Doctor Who, where they can just transmute and come back, but it's in the same form, not a switching form like Doctor Who, or like a shape-shifting form. So that's just the nature of the species, or the person, or that genus. And yes, are we related to them? Yes. Do we have molecular cellular solid abilities? Yes. Certain beings quite some time ago actually were telling me about molecular cellular solid. You might remember Dagmar, told us about that years ago. Came to find out that he wasn't always correct on things, but in this one area he was, where in fact, you can regrow limbs. That's the phantom limb syndrome, when the people feel like they still have a foot or a hand or whatever, or a finger or toe, lose it, arm or leg, and you still feel it. That's molecular cellular solid ability. You cut they cut a piece of a leaf off one time. They'd done X-rays on and measured the energy, and it still showed the same shape with the ultraviolet and the ultraviolet spectrum of the whole leaf, even if part of it was cut off diagonally. Yes, that's molecular cellular solid, but that's also euphemistic for the soul too. Physical form might not be there, but the soul is. The soul remembers. And I believe Isaac came through to do something in a big way. And his avatar may not have known this. You can't carry the full breadth of the Oversoul palace and or castle there. Higher stuff. You can't. It's impossible. It's all the is's and is nots. But in this particular set of timelines, whatever it was, I believe that he was trying to get some of these beings that were harming us and harming other people, these demigods, out of commission. I've always asked the Galactics, why don't you just remove the demigods here? In this case, it did happen. So he deserves a medal for that one. Or at least a statue. So, but I don't want anybody worshiping, I don't want anybody in fear, and I don't want people begging me to bring him back by rewriting the timelines. It does not work that way. Maybe in some parallel universe there's a version of him somewhere, versions of us. That's other aspects of the Oversoul, but not here. And yes, some can coexist and be of that same Oversoul within the same timeline, like grape or hair cluster. But again, no. So, as much as I would, but if I could. But I can't. And before people say, you shouldn't say I can't because you're manifesting, just stop there. Life and death happen. And it's sad for all of us, but this is the way this goes. And I know some people will say nothing ever dies. Of course, that's the soul, that's spirit. But again, please don't. And I'm asking that as a personal favor. I don't want to get questions about bringing him back to life. For Q&A and or requests on the side for doing it. This is what was supposed to happen as much as it hurts. So, and then you just drag on that wound the more you ask. And I don't want people aiming certain energies at me saying, oh my God, but you got to know this and you got to know that. And you start aiming that bolt at me, I'm going to end up blocking you. Because I can't handle the energy being thrown at me. This was rough enough as it is. So, and if people think it's not the same as, say, somebody here passes away, it is exactly the same. So, just to let you know. So, thank you. Please and thank you in advance. Here, so. It is 12:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, November 24th, 2025. Thank you.